Hey, hey, yo, yo. It's off to work we go.
The Seven Dwarfs? Is
Seven
that Seven
dwarfs.
Dwarfs?
7 people with dwarfism, yeah.
Pretty fucked up, that story, isn't it?
Yeah.
If you think about it.
Well, did you see that there was a uh, Disney, I think, remake announced, and Peter Dinklage came out and was like, "This is kind of fucked up that you're doing this and you're doing a live action Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs thing without like any consultation or consideration for the fact that like people have dwarfism and it's a real thing that affects people, and what stereotypes are you like putting out into the world again?"
Really?
Yeah.
I bet he was like, but give me the part then.
I don't think that was the tone. No.
That wasn't the tone?
No. I think it was more of a "are you fucking kidding me" kind of tone.
Yeah, well, he's got a point, I guess. I mean, I've never really thought about that at all because they've just been animated little men.
Yeah.
But I guess there's a point there.
Well, they're all like given weird negative like behaviors as well. Like one's dopey and one's sleepy and one's sneezy.
Bashful.
Yeah.
Love that
No one wants
bashful's just in
bashful
there.
people around. So, think about
Can you yeah, what other Seven Dwarfs names?
dopey, doc, bashful, sleepy,
Well, Doc's fine.
angry,
Angry.
happy.
It's not really
And one other maybe. I don't know.
it's not really that creative.
Well, no, I mean, I suppose it's like 200 years old. Like this is a Brothers Grimm thing, isn't it?
Oh,
no,
yeah, Brothers Grimm.
Anderson. I can't remember. It's an old fable, right? So how's life?
Pretty good, pretty busy. You know how people get busy.
Yeah.
You also hate it when people say that, don't you? Like,
I
just
mean,
like,
I don't know.
okay.
I'm happy if people are busy and want to be busy, or like are enjoying it for a while. I just feel like it shouldn't be the case that everyone feels the need to be busy in order to justify their life or existence or job or whatever. Like I think it could be problematic to always be like, "Oh, I'm so busy," as
Yeah.
some kind of like
Brag.
brag. Yeah.
Yeah.
But like I live in a life as a freelancer where I'm busy and quite often concentratedly busy, and then it goes quite quiet for a while, and I have very sort of easy days, and I don't mind that kind of roller coaster of it all.
Yeah. So I regret saying that.
No,
that
but I
case.
mean, have you been good busy? Like you've been enjoying all the shit that's
Yeah.
happening?
Yep. Just what am I doing? I just feel like I'm never home, which is nice as well. Because then it's also like, if you live with housemates, which you don't anymore, it's like, when you come back and they're always there and you've just been out for, 48 hours and you're like, come on, who's picking up the pieces here?
I don't understand what you're trying to say. You're saying that you look down on them for being home when you get home because you've been out
Yeah.
living an exciting life.
100%.
Okay.
100%.
Homes
Like,
are not for
come on,
being
guys.
in. No one should enjoy being home.
Get out there.
Get out of
Live
there.
life live every day as if it's your last.
I mean, in some respects, after your couple of years of Melbourne lockdowns, like being able to be out and about so frequently must feel quite nice, like quite pleasant.
Yeah, so you're on board with the judgment.
Well, I'm not saying that they're bad people. I'm just
They
saying
are.
that they've made the wrong choice.
Thank you. Yeah, I have been like out and about. I saw our friend. I don't know why I said our friend. You've never even met him.
Our friend, Casper.
A friend, Casper's left
Yeah.
the country, so saw him off on Sunday.
Did you take him to the airport?
No, I offered, he accepted, and then I said, I
Just
can't take
kidding.
you to the airport. Yeah.
But not with petrol prices being what they are.
They're extremely high right now. But no,
It
we
was
had a drink.
$2.80 here today.
No.
Yeah.
$2.80 a litre.
Yeah.
What? How are you? living like that?
Well, I'm at home a lot of the time.
It's like $1.80 here, and that's the highest I've ever seen it.
Yeah. Well, like a decent, not decent, I suppose, because no one wants to pay it, but sort of typically you'd be expecting it to be around 2.30, 2.40. So it's definitely jumped up a good 40, 50 cents.
But what's the dollar? What's the New Zealand dollar?
To Australia, it's very similar. I think it's 95 cents, 97 cents. So it is.
Oh, so
it is more
fucked over there.
Yeah. I don't know whether that's like just taxes or whether the oil companies charge more for trekking it all the way over there. I don't know.
Well, they have to go further.
Yeah, but I don't know. Australia's pretty far away, right? Can't they just get it to Australia and then like put it on a plane?
That's what I think they do that.
They don't fly petrol.
Do they not?
No, it'd be shipped.
Well, I guess they ship it on boats.
Yeah. I like that you had to sincerely think about whether that would be practical.
Do you ever think about how much oil actually gets used? Like, it is... Where are they getting this oil? I know it's from the ground. But, like, if you think about how much petrol you need for your car, and then everyone, well, a large percentage of people
all the cars you see on the road
society,
also need amounts, yeah.
I mean, plus all the trucks and stuff. Like,
yeah.
It's like actually
millions
a huge
of liters.
amount.
Yeah.
Billions of liters. You know, it's like, I think that about water as well. Like, everyone showering and bathing and putting the sprinkler on and
making ice cubes.
Making ice cubes and other things that you can do with water. I mean, how are we going to run out?
Coming from? Yeah. Really good question, Michael. Really good, interesting question. Didn't sound dumb at all.
Thank you. Where's all the water coming from, guys? The sky? Well, yeah, I guess it's the sky.
I'll direct you back to your Year 7 science class in which we talked about the water cycle.
What about the sea, though? Do you get the sea and then you just take the salt out? Because that would be the best way to do it, in my opinion.
Okay, moving on from this. Welcome to Deep Thought, everybody. This is the intro to a podcast in which we discuss items of substance, topics that change the world, matter, important things at a big level, from two of the 21st century's greatest minds. Sitting through the internet with me, across the wires of telecommunication, my friend Michael. Hi.
Hello, Nick. How you going?
I'm doing well, thank you for asking. That's so kind of you. I just got a little tickle. That was quite meaningful and cute, so thank you. I appreciate it. My name's Nick. That's nice. That's a nice buzz. This is a warm vibe.
Every time it's the same fucking
a little
joke.
pick me up, which is nice.
Hell. Happy International Women's Day.
Thank you. And here today to talk about International Women's Day, Michael Zabrecki.
Did you celebrate at all International Women's Day?
No, as a gay man, I'm legally not required to.
Oh, you don't have to.
I don't have
straight
to.
Men.
Yeah, it's only straight men that have to celebrate it.
Oh, okay. But do you like women? Do you appreciate women?
I've never really got that close to one.
Yeah. That's weird because I feel like gay men, get closer than straight men in some ways.
I think in some ways that's probably very not true. In some ways, that's definitely incorrect.
Well, you went right to the dirty, and I was thinking more emotionally,
So, sorry, you're talking about emotional closeness, not physical proximity.
Yeah,
then yes, absolutely. Yeah, we're a lot closer to women.
Do you have many female friends?
I reckon on the balance of it all, I probably have slightly more female friends than male friends.
Okay.
Slightly. It'd be pretty close.
Even.
Yeah.
Because I do remember when we worked together that, the girls were fond of you.
Yeah.
You got that kind of goofy, kind of like, familiar, kind of like, he's my brother, but he will never hurt me, kind of, kind of vibe.
Yeah, it's a safe space.
Nick's a safe space. He's kind of like a wet rag in some ways that I can just wrap around,
What?
my face in
You're
summer.
not using that metaphor correctly.
Is that?
Yeah,
rag?
you've got that wrong. I don't think it means what you think it does.
I can't visualize what a rag is at this point, to be honest.
That's the problem. You should be able to picture a rag at the drop of a hat.
Tea towel. What's a rag doll?
What's a rag doll? That's
Yeah,
a doll made of like cut up bits of fabric and stuff.
Speaking of Seven Dwarfs, are you leaving that in the podcast, by the way?
Probably.
Can I reference it?
Yeah.
Do you remember gollywogs? Did you ever have any of those in your house?
I don't know if I ever had physical gollywogs in the house, but if you ever read Enid Blyton, they were prominent characters in like the Faraway Tree and that sort of thing. So I definitely read about gollywogs, and I think probably had to ask my parents, what's a gollywog? But yeah, I don't think I ever had a doll. Did you?
I didn't have them, but they were around.
They were around.
Oh yeah, there were dolls in my house for sure. Before anyone did you ever have this? That there's like a couple of things like growing up, like in your family, that were just kind of everyone just said or they had, and no one realized that they were racist until one day everyone was like, "Oh my god, that's really racist."
No, not that come to mind. Like, are you thinking about dolls and things, or are you talking about like expressions?
Well, okay, I'll give you an expression. It's going to be a bit tricky to.
Okay. I won't ask you to. I won't put you on the spot if you don't want to.
I can. I can, but this is an example of. It's an example of how, we've moved on anyway. So, whatever. But I think. So in England, and when I say in England, I'm already second guessing it because it could have just been my mum's family.
Right.
But when we were growing up and we were like us kids hadn't had a shower or something, or we'd start to smell, my mum would go, "Oh, you stinking Arab." and she got it from her mum.
Yeah.
And she just said it all the time whenever we were smelly.
Yeah.
And then we'd be like, "Oh, I won't say it again."
Yeah.
But we would say that to each other. And then one day, I think it was probably 15, late bloomer. Yeah. I was like, "Mum, that's racist." And she's like, "No, it isn't. How is it racist?" And I was like, How is literally it not? Naming a race in this expression.
Yeah.
And she was like, "It's not." Oh, yeah. But it's like you didn't even register it.
Mm. I do remember now. My dad has, on a couple of occasions, prompted his mother, my grandmother, to talk about what her dog was called when she was growing up. So my grandmother, when she was growing up, so we're talking, I don't know, 1930s now, 30s or 40s. Mm-hmm. Had a black Labrador, and its name was the N-word.
What?
Because that meant black, and they had a black dog, and
wow.
that was the thing. And my dad, because he was being cheeky, would get his mum to talk about it. And she knew, of course, by now that's not a word you could say, but she would say and explain that, that's what it was called back then.
Wow.
So it's really not that far back in time. You have to go for these kind of things to be very real.
No, yeah, and even with movies and stuff, I can't remember Mickey Rooney. There's a Mickey Rooney movie. I think it's a pretty famous one where he plays like an Asian man.
Yeah.
And he's just like in like the most extreme makeup and doing the most offensive voice by our standards today.
Yeah.
And it's just like it's a tough one because I mean it's not tough in terms of it's cut and dry for us now, but it is interesting to think that at that time it would have taken a lot more for us to have recognized that as something that we shouldn't be doing.
Yeah.
And then you think, what are we doing now that in the future, because there's definitely going to be things.
Yeah.
Although now we have like a kind of a real push towards, like, it's so in everyone's front and center of everyone's mind. Like, it's everyone's really conscious of it.
Yeah.
In the media and stuff. So I wonder if that kind of tips the scales a little bit for, future retrospectives.
You have to hope, like, these are low-hanging fruit, right? Like, you have to hope that there are going to be fewer obvious things like that hanging around by the time our kids grow up and tell us all this fucked up shit we did, and that what will be left will be more institutional or systemic racism kind of problems, rather than, hey, you're dropping slurs that without even thinking about it, right?
Yeah, you'd hope so. Warney died. See that?
Yeah, I did see that. He was a bit of an icon of yours.
He was. How did you know that?
Well, I know everything about you, Michael.
He was like my hero as a kid. I had all of his posters. I was also a leg spinner. Do you know what that is?
Yeah.
What is it?
Bowling around the left side of the wicket.
Not even close.
Damn it.
Your face. I wish I could have just... You were like kind of proud of yourself, but also...
No, I wasn't proud. I was taking a real confident stab and hoping that we could just keep going.
Right. I thought you were going to say something about your leg spinning or something, like dancing.
No.
Could have gone there.
Okay.
But yeah, he was a big hero of mine. Even though now, like, look at videos and stuff, I've been watching heaps.
Sorry. Well, I was just going to say, like, he was definitely in the game, like a character, but then he had a weird sort of post-cricket career, right? Like, as a personality, he was an interesting person, right? Like, all I remember after that is just all of his fucking, like, ads, his hair ads and that kind of shit, right?
He just had this weird, like, because he dyed his hair blonde the whole time, which is just ridiculous. And also he had, like, the soul patch and, like, so he was, like, this weirdly vain guy.
Yeah,
that
like
was
he had
really good
plastic
at sport.
surgery and shit, right?
By the end, he was so plastic surgerized.
Yeah.
And he looked like he had plastic surgery, but he was, like, dating, like, Elizabeth Hurley.
That's the weird thing, right? Like, at a time, it was like he was an actual, like, legit celebrity, right? Who could get international models. And
he's just like loved partying. He was a party boy.
It's it does make you wonder what impact that had on an early, age 52 heart attack.
Well, don't tell me that.
Yeah, I mean, you're not quite in his league, Michael.
You don't think?
Nah.
I was also a leg spinner.
You might be shocked to know this. I also played cricket, but none of that stuck around. Informationally.
Yeah. Oh well. What do you say when people die?
Well, are you speaking to a relative?
R.I.P. R.I.P.
Okay, just generically.
R.I.P. Warney.
If someone like you're speaking to someone who knows it, you probably say, "I'm sorry for your loss." That kind of.
I'm sorry for killing.
I'm sorry for being responsible for the murder of Shane Warne.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I didn't mean to hit him with my car.
Jesus.
Yeah, sad times.
Yeah. What else?
Are you going to ask me about my life?
You sound like my sister. She always says this. She says I never ask her about her.
Do you ever ask her about her?
Here's the thing about that. I don't ask any. I don't ask people about
any answer to that question, which wasn't just a yes, is a problem.
No, let me answer that.
So here's the thing.
People often say to me, "You never ask me how I'm going," and the thing that I'd like to say to that is, I don't ask to be asked how I'm going. In fact, I'd rather not be asked, so that I also don't have to ask you.
And why are you talking to these people at all? Do you not want to connect with them, like human to human? Do you not want to know your friends?
I know them well enough. Like, I just don't want to be like I don't want to have the pressure of just going, oh, how are you? And it's fake anyway.
Well,
It's
every
'cause
morning when I get up, I send your sister Laura a message asking her how she is. And I think that's a fairly normal thing for me to do, let alone for you to do, a relative. So
yeah,
you need to reconsider.
I don't think she thinks it's normal.
No, she has said to me, please stop. But I think that's sort of her defenses because she's not willing yet to be vulnerable.
No, I think that's correct. That's true. She's hard to get to know, but if you keep persisting, Nick,
Every morning.
and maybe every evening,
Okay, add a few more in.
she goes to bed around 10:30. Just maybe hit her with a double
What is it
text.
with sisters and going to bed at 10:30? Am I right?
You're
Is that
so
universal?
right about that.
Is that universal?
That's from my experience, yes.
Yeah.
What
Anyway,
were we
how are
talking
you?
about? Oh yeah, no, how are you? Go on, tell me how you are.
I'm good. Been thinking a lot about the war in Ukraine.
Oh yeah, my dad had a massive go, not a massive go at me, but he was very ashamed because apparently my dad listens to this podcast now, which is it's great to have another fan
Yeah.
/ listener.
Yeah.
But,
I don't know if he's a fan. He might still be listening.
Well, he wasn't a fan of the last episode, I tell you what, and not because of anything you did, because I didn't know anything about Ukraine at the time.
Uh-huh.
And he was disappointed in me, and quite frankly, I was disappointed in myself.
Okay.
Because I think you asked me, you
Yeah.
know, what insight I had being of Ukrainian heritage,
Uh-huh.
and I think probably I said,
You said their food is shit.
"Fuck him."
Yes.
I said, "Fuck him."
Yeah. It didn't age well,
Putin
that perspective. I'll say that.
Yeah. So since then, and I know this question started with me asking you how you are going, and now we are already talking about me. But I have since been bathing. Maybe a wrong choice of words.
I'm glad.
Yeah.
I think that is another thing that you could stand to do a bit more. So good to hear.
I've been swimming in Ukraine, Russia stuff now, like a nuclear like a radioactive like a bath, like a warm bath. I've been researching what the history of Russia and Ukraine is a lot. Is what I'm trying to say.
That's great. Can you fill me in?
Don't ask me to do that. Yeah,
you just said last episode when you asked me about Ukraine, I felt embarrassed because I gave a shitty answer and didn't know anything. And since then, I've been soaking in a bath of Ukraine-Russian history. I have been nuclear in my enthusiasm for this topic. And then I said, oh, great. Tell me a bit about it. And you immediately said, no, I will not and I cannot.
Well, I can. I'll give you... Should I give a quick rundown of the
Pop quiz.
Ukraine-Russia conflict?
Yeah.
Okay, so here's the deal. So there's this guy called Pete... what's his name? Putin.
Did you just get Putin's name wrong?
I was like, Peters. And...
There's this guy called Vivian Peters.
Just completely wrong. And he was a KGB spy, and he was in love with the Soviet Union, which fell in the 1980s. Mm-hmm. When the Soviet Union fell, Ukraine seceded from the Soviet Union and became its own sovereign nation. And Putin, who gradually came into power, thought, this is wrong. Ukraine is ours. Ukraine, interestingly, and Moscow were actually started as the same space, the same country, and grew apart. So Kiev was actually former Russia.
Right.
Former Russia. So Putin's got this in his head. Anyway, after the Soviet Union falls, Putin comes into power. Ukraine starts maybe becoming a little flirting with NATO and the West, much like Finland and Estonia, who are also part of the Soviet Union.
Finland?
Finland, maybe?
Finland.
another. Is that not Finland?
Finland's
They're
quite
not-
far away.
Is it? Well, one of the other Nordic kind of countries, maybe like Yugoslavia or something.
I mean, that's more plausible to me.
Bosnia. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Estonia was definitely one of them.
Okay.
Anyway, so as you probably know, Estonia's, got, more Western values now. They're quite progressive in many ways. Kind of a lot like Melbourne, Italian, I hear. So Putin does not like this. And
I've been to
this
Tallinn,
is-
by the way. It is very
Oh,
lovely.
have you really?
Yeah.
Is it
Because
like
I
Melbourne?
got some distant relatives over there.
Oh, do you? Are you part Estonian?
Down my dad's side, I think on
Okay.
his mum's side, out that way, we've got some cousins. So I've actually been over there. In fact, my sister and my dad have actually met relatives over there.
Oh, really?
Mm.
Oh, do svidaniya.
Das Vidania. It's an
I don't know if
interesting
that's-
city, Tallinn.
Is it like Melbourne? People say it's like Melbourne.
It's weirdly kind of modernist, but it's also because it was occupied by about 14 different fucking countries. They have all of this strange mix of architecture. Some stuff which is like real, like modern, some stuff which is old and Russian, some which is like brutalist, and some which is everything in between. It's like a strange mishmash of all kinds of things. I quite enjoyed the visit, I have to say.
Oh, I'd love to go. I once slept with an Estonian.
Oh, was
Woman.
it my grandmother?
I wish I had something there.
That's
And I
fine.
Anyway, so where was I? Yeah, Soviet Union falls. Putin's keeping an eye on Ukraine the whole time. Meanwhile, he's going, this Ukraine should be Russian. And yeah, okay, then just skip about 20 years, Nick. Just
I'm skipping
kind
ahead.
of skip forward to like now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so maybe like 30 years. And now Putin is invading Ukraine.
What?
So that's the entire history.
That's a fairly effective summary, right? But what's can you give me the reason that he's doing it now?
So there are many theories, but people feel that, well, first of all, Putin is an autocrat, and he's been in power for 30 years. He's actually found a loophole / just straight up corrupt in the elective system of Russia, where he's been switching between prime minister and president. So you can't have successive terms as president or prime minister.
Is that right?
but-
He's alternating
yeah.
himself.
He's alternating himself. I mean, the whole thing is completely corrupt. But that's how he's managed to stay in power for 30 plus years.
Yeah,
It's
right.
a farce. And some people think that he's looking basically to stamp his legacy. He wants to be the guy who brought Ukraine back to Russia before he wants to go down in the history books. I think this is all driven by ego.
Oh, definitely. With all the autocrats, it is, right?
Yeah, and this is going to be his legacy. So I think that's the.
It's interesting because my friend Ben is a real Russia nut. In fact, he's written in previously correcting us on historical errors that we got wrong.
Oh yeah,
But
Benny Q.
Benny Q. But he was saying over the weekend that Ukraine was basically the only arable land in the Soviet Union. And
What does that mean?
like farmland, anything that could grow anything. So when that seceded and became its own independent country, Russia then suddenly lost any like place to make food, to grow crops. It also had lots of gas reserves, I think, and other natural resources. So that was like a nice bit of territory. And since then, basically everything has got to shit in Russia because they just don't have anything to make or to buy or to grow because that territory disappeared.
In Ukraine.
Once Ukraine became independent, Russia went to shit because they didn't have those resources anymore. So getting
is
that
this
back is a real boon, I think, if he was able to.
Yeah, because it seems like so bizarre in some levels. Because you got Russia, which is arguably the biggest country in the entire world already. Maybe apart from Australia, but who knows? They're so massive. They're like, why? Why? What's the point? Like, what are you gonna get? Like, why does Putin? I know I just gave my own theory or whatever, a regurgitation of someone else's theory, but why? Why do you want this extra land? How come? How is this good for you? Like, why do you care? Is it just resources?
Well, I mean, I think it's the things we just talked about. It's resources, it's ego, it's claiming that you're rebuilding the union, it's being backed into a corner financially and politically, and needing to do something.
Yeah.
You are right though. Russia is the largest country in the world. Then there's Antarctica, but that's not really, a territory. And then Canada.
Oh, so Australia's not even.
Australia's down at
the
number
top
6.
3.
Yeah.
What?
Canada, and then China and United States. They seem pretty close, depending on certain territories that you include or exclude. And then Brazil before Australia.
Before Australia, Brazil.
Yeah.
Fuck. But yeah. Well, speaking of International Women's Day as well, I mean, I just feel for the women, especially in Russia and even all over the world. And I'm not going for the progressive
I mean,
ticket here.
You're basically alt-right at this point, so this is very much out of character.
Well, that's the second time I've been called alt-right this week, and the other time was just before Casper left. So I won't tell you who it was, but yeah. But you got to feel for the women who just have got to feel with all these guys in power doing this shit, invading and blah blah blah, going after their legacy, which is ego driven. That it must just feel like your hands are tied and so frustrating and just so shit that these guys. There's something that you would never
medieval,
do
right? Like
as a species.
It's
that you would just be like, women would never fucking invade.
It's a
Ukraine.
leftover of 400 years ago, right? Like that kind of era where it was like you don't get a say and crazy men at the castles choose what happens in your life.
Exactly. It's honestly just ridiculous and stupid.
Yeah.
And just like I want to say pathetic, but I don't know. I feel like on some level it is pathetic because of the motivations.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's as we said, like Putin's a very isolated character, and I think by all reports has got more isolated during the COVID era, where there's no one there anymore which can say no to him or can question him or advise him in a way that's not completely affected by his immense power to have them beheaded or killed or disappeared, instantaneously. So even when you see him with his own security advisors and they're seated all the other fucking way down the end of this long table, it's like it is not even an analogy at that point. It's not even a metaphor. It just is like this guy sitting on a throne all by himself. With
kinda
no one to tell him otherwise.
Yeah, I guess kind of like Trump.
Yeah,
in some ways, except with way more power to get people killed. But yeah, he's on obviously another level to Trump.
Well, and it was interesting. Trump was definitely surrounded by yes men by the end, but in a system that could work against him with democracy at least.
You see that Trump called him a genius?
Yeah,
it was like it's actually genius when you think about it. The man just said, "No, Ukraine's an independent nation." I mean, that's genius.
Yeah, well, did you see his suggestion, though, as to what they should do? He said we should, because if American forces got involved, that would escalate things to a place that would be, you can't really come back from. But Trump said, well, we should take if we can't get involved, if NATO can't get involved, we should take some American planes and we should paint some Chinese flags on them, and then we fly them over there and bomb shit, and then they look at them and they say, oh, that was China, and then China and Russia fight it out, and we just stand back and watch, like a fucking
Such
cartoon.
a stoner idea. Such a stoner idea. Hey, bro, you know what they should fucking do? They should fly jets over there. Just paint Chinese flags on them.
Yeah. Bizarre.
My impression of a stoner. No offense to stoners.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, you gotta love how his brain works though. Sometimes I mean, at the level that he is, he's just like, I'll just confidently just throw out the dumbest idea of all time. I think this is fine.
Oh, he's definitely going to be trying to run again in 2024, right?
I hope so, my man.
God.
Trump Kanye, 2024, baby.
Oh,
my guys.
Yeah. No, thank you.
Speaking of egos.
Yeah.
I mean, will they implode though if they get two of them together?
If they get too close, yeah.
The two biggest egos in the entire world.
Yeah.
Will it be like
they'll crush together into
Large
like
Hadron Collider? They'll destroy the world.
Yeah. Form a singularity and start sucking everything in around them. So the one of the reasons I've been thinking about the Ukraine thing quite a bit is that a couple of weeks ago I actually started a new job, working like a permanent part-time role with the video game company I've done a few years of work on now, but where formerly I'd been doing stuff as a proofreader and freelancing, I'd now taken a position as a narrative designer, like embedded in the team, 20 hours a week, some of which is live in European hours. So I was working sort of 8 p.m. for a couple of hours at night and then doing another bit of work during my day. So Frogwares has been good to me over the past few years, and I started this new job, and there's exciting work in the games industry, like really getting access and opportunities that I never would have expected. And the thing is that most of their team is based in Ukraine. So I started a job and we had a couple of days sort of getting oriented and getting into the rhythms of the night work and this kind of thing. And then 3 days later, Russia invaded, and all of my new colleagues and team were then hiding in their basements and fleeing the cities and trying to get to safety. And
oh my God,
it was the most like surreal week where I was like starting with this celebratory mood of like, oh my God, I can't believe I've got this like steady job doing really cool work. And then it suddenly just went fucking insane. And all
are they still working?
No. So they all basically went, pens down and into survival mode. And the internal channels, they use like a sort of like a Teams or a Slack kind of thing to communicate, and those platforms suddenly turn from, hey, here's an interesting game idea, or hey, here's some news, or here's some memes, and like general kind of office chit chat shit, to hey, here's the best contact numbers for us in emergency. Hey, here's how to get your money out of the banking system if you need to get out of the country. Here's a port of entry. Emergency details and banking advice and communications information, and for several days, the international people on the team were basically just trying to contact everyone in Kyiv and various other cities where they were based to check that they were alive, to check that they were okay. Like it's just crazy and unfathomable, and very intense. And in the last day leading up to the proper invasion and the proper attack starting, I was on a call at my night their morning, and there was just this weird sense of gallows humor in the thing where some people just didn't want to talk about it, and your natural instinct is to say, I'm sending my best, I hope it's okay, stay safe, but everyone's talking about this looming threat at their border. So there had been a bit of work, and there'd been a deadline that we'd been working towards for about a month, as in prior to when I started, to submit a proposal for something. And in the immediate aftermath of this attack, obviously everyone was just, work wasn't important, just try and stay safe, try and get out if you can, or whatever. but there was this work and this deadline, and so the couple of us based internationally kept going, and so we, for the past week, finished that off basically and submitted it so that the work that had been done wasn't for nothing, and it could feel like a bit of a victory for the team in the circumstances. But the strange end result of it was that it was effectively like 2 brand new employees to the company and 1 boss at the top level, working to finish off this documentation on behalf of a team of people we'd barely met and barely knew, but just hoped to do justice to. So, yeah, and then after that, now it's just like, okay, that we made that deadline, and now we'll just wait. We just wait and see, because this job won't continue until the war's over. It's very odd.
So were you starting a salaried full-time position?
Not full-time, it's a permanent part-time, but yeah, it was salaried. So I had like annual leave and sick days and like a full employee perks package.
And so that's just on hiatus for now.
Yeah.
Wow, you're a really bad luck.
Yeah, I suppose that's true. Yeah. Yeah, 3 days later. Yeah.
Wow. So you're just covering these guys' workload in that
week. Yeah. So there was a week afterwards where we were just trying to get this proposal in.
And you're getting a sense of like real fear from them, or are they
like, I haven't heard from them is the thing. You know, like for a while, like I said, they were trying to just get in touch, but now I'm pretty sure that everyone's doing okay. But the other thing is that there was a period when everyone was fleeing, but now there's being sort of martial law imposed, and people aged 16 to 60, men aged 60 to 60, can't leave the country. They are bound to be there, lest they be conscripted and needed for battle. You know,
isn't that crazy?
Crazy.
I mean, there's a lot that's crazy about it. It's also crazy that fucking Zelensky is a comedian.
Yeah,
and not only a comedian, the president of Ukraine, he was also the voice of Paddington in the Ukrainian dubbed version.
Yeah, and he was on Dancing with the Stars.
And now he is everyone's new crush.
It's like if Koshi was the Prime Minister of Australia.
Isn't it more like if like Sean McAuliffe was the...
Sure.
Like, Koshi's not a comedian.
No, but Koshi would be on Dancing with the Stars.
It's like if Shane Warne was president of Ukraine.
It's like if
Hugh Jackman... Do you want to just keep doing this for the rest of the pod?
It's like if Sophie Monk was Prime Minister of Australia.
Yeah, do you find her funny? Did you like her comedy?
I think that she's actually kind of personable. She seems quite down to earth.
Yeah.
She seems self-aware.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Have you seen the Tom Gleeson hard quiz that he did with her?
Tom Gleeson would have been the best one there, I think. Tom Gleeson.
Oh, potentially. Yeah.
No, I'm not a Sophie Monk. I was a big Bardot.
You're a Bardot guy from way back.
I was a Bardot
and Warney, they were you too.
Yeah, I was Bard. Yes, that doesn't work on any level. Anyway,
don't say Bard no, say Bard yes.
It's Bardot. It's not called Bard no. I think I did have their album. But yeah, what were we talking about?
Russia, Ukraine. So so that was my strange connection to it all. Was sort of watching in very real terms as very specific people were fleeing and hiding, and like there was a channel in this company communications platform that was a like positives news channel. So it historically was things like, oh, look at my new kitten, or yay, look at this, I got my PlayStation, or whatever. And now it's like pictures of, I found a gun with ammunition like not even joking. Like, here's a pistol and here's some rounds I've got. And you're like, fuck, that's taking a turn.
Fuck.
Yeah.
It was, I don't know if I said this on the last one, but I want to say it now. Because people keep asking me.
Ukrainian food sucks! It's awful! It tastes like nothing. Is that where you're going?
Is that what I said?
It is what you said.
God, I couldn't listen back to the last one. I was like, the older I get, the more I'm just like, Nick, sometimes I really want to hear your edits. Whenever you're talking, I love it. And when I start to talk, my body starts to tense and cramp all over, and I can't do it. I can't listen to myself anymore.
Oh, well.
Yeah, I mean, it must suck.
It was a great edit, I have to say.
Was it?
Yeah, got rid of Dave completely.
I mean, we heard, so yeah, that was, he hasn't shut up about that, to be honest.
in a real bitter way.
Well, here's the thing. I think he said that he laughed so hard when he realized that he got cut out.
Uh-huh.
But I think
emotionally it still stings.
I think it broke him.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Because he was so excited to be on the podcast. But as I explained to him on Saturday, comedically, it had to be done.
Yeah.
It was the best thing.
It was the best thing.
Best move.
Yeah.
It was the best thing for the show. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to Ukraine. People keep asking me, how do I feel about Ukraine? Has it affected me at all, being Ukrainian? And it's an interesting one because I've never felt more patriotic towards or about Ukraine ever in my life. It's kind of been this weird thing that having a last name like I do, very distinctly not Australian or English, you grow up and people will always ask you, oh, that's an interesting name, where is it from? And so you kind of... Perfect.
Yeah.
So you kind of grow up with this kind of like, oh, I'm not like different like as if I was gay, just like normal, but like, okay. But like, you know, slightly different than everyone else, you know? We just
acceptably normal.
Yes, thank you. Perfectly put. Acceptably normal. And also, you know, we've had like, you know, people speak Ukrainian when we go back for Christmas, and you know, we have Ukrainian food, which sucks. But it's never been something that I've been conscious of. You know, it's just kind of been like,
it's background.
I'm Ukrainian.
Background radiation.
And then now when you see all this horrific shit that's happening over there, then there's this weird thing. This is like all of my family's talking about it all the time in our chat, and I'm not just like our intermediate. What's that called? Intermediate family. It's like the what's the other one? External.
What are you talking about?
You know how
like
you have
your,
like your immediate family.
Are you trying to say immediate?
Immediate family, and then what's the other one?
Extended
family, not external family. Everyone's talking about it. Everyone's on the what do you call it? The messaging app,
Facebook
Messenger.
Yeah.
And
they're
so
putting those like what do you call it? Like the combinations of letters, like when you put letters together in a way and that forms like a thing with words.
Emojis.
They're putting words in the chat. Yeah.
Words, the old emojis. And so yeah, we're all kind of like, you know, really, you know, feeling Ukrainian at the moment. Yeah. So I feel very Ukrainian. Still can't speak anything in Ukrainian apart from
Dostoevsky.
Yeah. Dostoevsky. Hey, Dostoevsky to you too, my friend.
Cheers.
Anyway, just wanted to get that off my chest.
Yeah.
Probably already said that last week.
No, I mean you didn't. So yeah, it's probably worth doing. Do you have any? Like you said, your family's talking about it. Do you know of anyone back there still? Like, do you have any relatives in Ukraine?
No, I don't think so. No close relatives, at least. So that's a positive. But there's definitely people walking around with the names of Reki out there.
I'm sure.
Or running.
Yeah.
At this point.
Is that a bit tasteless?
I'm Ukrainian. I can make those
Okay,
jokes.
sure. Yes. It's a very surreal time. I mean, you just think about all of the catastrophic events happening simultaneously now, including the ongoing COVID pandemic, which has wildly hit New Zealand at this point. 25,000 cases today.
Wow.
The floods in Australia are insane. Insane.
Yep.
Like one in a millennium level, like 10-meter high floods. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, it just feels like apocalyptic, and we thought it was apocalyptic when COVID hit.
Yeah.
I wonder sometimes if it is because we have such ready access to the news that we just hear about this stuff now. I mean, I get that there's like coincidentally been some like major things going on. And the other thing is that I thought about just quickly is with the Ukraine thing, right? Obviously, very, it's like history kind of being shaped again before our eyes.
Yeah.
And this is like a very historic moment for Ukraine and possibly also Russia. But
Definitely also Russia.
the feels like there is this fixation on it now that it seems sustained on this conflict in a way that, and I'm not sure if it is comparable at all, but you know, if we think about like Afghanistan and Iraq and the invasion of Iraq, I mean, I know they're for very different reasons, and I'm not even, they're just the two things that come to my head, but like the other kind of conflicts and turmoil that's going on in the world. And I do wonder if we are more, or this is more sustainable for us in terms of the news cycle, if it is more interesting to us because everyone's white.
I mean, it's a very valid question, right? I saw other commentators make that point about how easily it broke through and resonated with people, and I think it would be absolutely valid to raise that question about otherness and proximity and perceived closeness when it comes to those kind of racial and geographic differences.
It's just hard to imagine, like, if this happened in the Middle East, it's hard to imagine it staying in the news cycle like the Ukraine-Russia conflict is.
Yeah. I agree.
You don't know. This is hypotheticals, but it just feels like that's probably true.
Well, I mean, are we talking about Afghanistan anymore? You know, the West pulled out of it and left it in ruins. Is anyone talking? No.
I mean, when was that? Was that the start of... Oh, that was the start of last year,
right?
Yeah, when Biden just got in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That disappeared.
I hope you guys are doing okay.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it was kind of felt like.
There was a controversial tweet that someone made. I think it was like I want to say an owner of an NBA team or a coach of an NBA team or something like that, who was talking about this kind of issue and said point blank that some other crises and international emergencies didn't reach his line or didn't cross his line, in terms of importance, in terms of him paying attention to it. It didn't cross the line. It didn't make the cut. And he got crucified for it. It was deemed as an inappropriate and unacceptable, callous and mean thing to say.
Do you remember what he was referring to?
I might just look it up so I can be accurate. So I was listening to a podcast called Dithering, which is excellent. It's a paid podcast that talks about tech and broader tech issues. And they were talking about this idea of crossing the line. And it was in the context of a man named Chama Palihapitiya, who was a part owner of the NBA's Golden State Warriors. And he set off a a whole bunch of criticism and a
Firestorm.
Are you reading the article that I'm reading? Because
No,
it
I
does
just
say
guessed that.
firestorm. Okay, yeah, it set off a
Does it?
firestorm of criticism across the internet with a confession thinly veiled as an assertion that nobody cares about the Uyghurs, the the ongoing genocide perpetrated by the Chinese government. And his description was that it didn't cross the line. It wasn't important enough to him that it was within his attention span, right? And that got him crucified, because you can't say no one cares about the Uyghurs, right? The obvious
What's
truth
that
of
word?
the Uyghurs.
Uyghurs. I've heard that before.
It's Uighur or Uyghur.
Okay.
It's a Turkish ethnic group originally from Central and Eastern Asia, but they're basically being persecuted by China.
Okay.
And like literally like forced sterilization, forced labor. Over 1 million Uyghurs have been like detained in internment camps since 2017. Anyway, the point being that he made this ridiculously flippant comment and got appropriately crucified. But there is an inherent truth to it, right? The ugly truth about human nature is that no one person can know about and care about everything, right? It's just functionally impossible. And one could argue that you should probably be aware of this specific circumstance, but there are going to be plenty of genocides going on in the world right now that I have no fucking clue about, right? I don't really know anything about anything happening in Africa. It's just completely not on the radar. Yeah. And there is a validity to that statement of you can't know everything, even if this sentiment is clearly still an asshole thing to say, right? So there is an interesting thing that you talked about here when it comes to Russia and Ukraine, because clearly for more people out there, this was enough to become news, to stick in the cycle, to get attention, to get continued daily coverage, even in places like New Zealand and Australia, which are functionally irrelevant in the scale of that conflict, in terms of the financial impacts it can have from doing sanctions, in terms of the number of people in their home countries affected. It just doesn't really have that much to do with us.
No,
but it's still in the news everywhere.
And you could probably think that there's probably less people, at least in Australia, less Ukrainian people or less Russian people in Australia than there are, Asian people.
Absolutely.
Or, Turkish people, I guess, as well. So, you got to wonder what the impetus is behind keeping it in the news cycle. Is it because we're an ally of the States and that it has repercussions for us? Maybe. Is it because Russia is a superpower? Maybe, but then as you say, China is also a superpower.
Yeah.
So
it's a very, as you say, it does raise that question quite considerably about the ethnicities of the people involved, and whether or not it's perceived to connect more with people because you're looking at mostly white people fleeing.
But the guy who tweeted that has a point in that. Look, I guess we should be striving to be across as many traumatic or catastrophic cases like this, as many genocides or whatever's important across the board in the world. We should be striving to be across it as much as possible. But our kind of reptilian or tribal brain will probably just not allow that. We're not going to be able to do that unless you have a specific interest in it.
Yeah.
So like Eddie Cav, who has a specific interest in the Pacific nations and how they're doing. Like he's like throwing himself into that.
Yeah.
Unless you're doing that, it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard for you to actually like. I mean, I don't want to say hard to empathize, but I think that it's like partly to do with our tribal brain not being able to empathize as much, which is kind of fucked up.
Yeah.
At this point.
Yeah. I'll read you the exact quote that Palapatiya actually said. So he goes, "Let's be honest. Nobody cares about what's happening to the Uyghurs. You bring it up because you really care, and I think that's nice that you care. The rest of us don't care. I'm telling you a very hard, ugly truth. Of all the things I care about, it is below my line." Fucking...
I respect this, honestly. I mean, he's
still
just saying what everyone else is thinking, but is not saying.
But it's not what everyone else is thinking. I think it's just true that some people do think it. You don't have to be an arsehole about it. But it definitely deserved criticism.
I think even if people aren't conscious of it, that's what's happening. So I think he is right.
I think that he's right too. But it just does not need to be said. As in, like, you don't have to generalize and say that no one cares, because that's just so blatantly false. Obviously people care. Like, you could speak it from a much more honest place where you're just only talking about yourself, which, he does address, and he does seem to know that it is a hard and awful kind of self-reflection kind of moment. So I will give him credit for it, but it is just an interesting context.
I think a lot of the responsibility lies with the media, and yes, the media will only give people what they know that they want to hear about. And one of the things that they teach you in journalism is proximity to people is the most important thing. That's why your local news is always going to be the biggest kind of program. It's like what relates to you, even between states, or what do you have in New Zealand? Provinces or something?
What do you call it? Districts.
Districts. I mean, that's going to be the most pertinent information to you. It's weird because Ukraine is like almost exactly the opposite of side of the world.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just the relatability thing, I guess, because of the skin color, which yes, fucked up, but people's minds are fucked up. Like that's how we operate. That's how we've been operating for millions of years. That's literally how we've evolved, and like, yeah, we can't like just turn it around.
But you can be aware of it. You can try to be.
You can be aware of it and try and be better. That's the only thing you can do.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyway,
how do you think you'd go in conscription? Let's say they turn around and it's war, and it's like, okay, here we go, conscription. What would you you go along with it, or would you like protest? Would you try and get away? Would you claim that you have like services you can do away from the front?
Honestly, I would be Googling all the loopholes.
Yeah, bone spurs.
So are we talking the Russian army? Because if it's the Russian army, I'm coming out
you're
as
facing
gay.
Out.
Yep, because they're not going to have gay men in the army.
So yeah, you'll be locked up.
I'd rather be locked up than have to fight. I'd like to fight, and I said this to Casper the other day. I'd like to fight on the front lines behind a keyboard. I'd like to do a bit of admin on the front lines. You know what I mean?
What do you mean, frontline keyboard?
I want to
just
be on
play
the front
a
lines,
jaunty tune,
but taking phone calls and sending a few emails.
Okay, you mean computer keyboard, not music keyboard.
Oh yeah, sorry. I mean, if that's up for grabs, I'll do that. I'll entertain the troops.
Yeah.
But I don't
all right, guys, have a good war. This is a kind of jaunty bossa nova tune I've been working on, and 1, 2, 3, 4.
Bit fast for a bossa nova, Nick. But I think that's more me. Like I don't feel like I'm like. First of all, I don't have a competitive nature. And I just don't think I'm going to do well. I mean, I think you'd probably do better than me.
Oh, I don't think so. I'm pretty squeamish.
Yeah, I'm so squeamish too. I'd faint, honestly.
Yeah.
With the thought of conscription,
I don't love like camping either.
I hate camping. I hate camping. I also don't like not showering for
Yeah.
more than 24
And
hours.
I have a very specific kind of bed setup. Like I need a couple of pillows
Yes.
and, one between your arms just so your shoulder's not like
100%.
twisting.
Oh, no. Oh, I love that one. Like the
Yeah,
body pillow
the
kind
body
of thing.
pillow, and then something nice for the neck. Maybe like a firm surface is actually kind of going to be okay for my back, so that's okay.
Well, they
but
kind of do it in Japan, but
Yeah.
I don't like it. I suspect that I'm gluten intolerant as well.
yeah, right.
Which I think I've developed lately. And I suspect that the army food is not really going to cater to that, especially in Russia.
No.
So
Why have you assumed that you're being conscripted by the Russian army?
I thought that's what we were doing. Because Ukrainian
Because
army.
Ukraine's also...
Sorry, I get Russia and Ukraine mixed up.
And your dad's angry with you again.
No, I think I'd fare horribly in conscription. I think mostly I would be, because I'm so cynical. I'm cynical in the most unproductive circumstances. I remember one of my first jobs was at KFC, right? And I remember going for like an induction thing there. I must have been 14. I went to like a company induction thing, and we had to watch this company video. And I should have been so excited to have my first job and start earning like proper money. And by proper money, I mean $6 an hour.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I remember watching this video and just going, "This is
Technically,
absolute."
it was still legal currency.
Yeah, I got paid mostly in nuggets and high fives. But I remember even at 14, I was like, this is not for me. I cannot take this seriously. And ever since, like anytime there's like a thing where everyone has to kind of get together as a team, I'm not like a team player. I don't think. I'm just like I'm not a team guy. If we have to like kind of get on the same board and be like, all right, hey guys, we're all doing this. I'm like, I want to just go on the opposite side of the room. That's my impulse. I'm like, I want to be not part of the team.
Yeah.
I don't like being part of teams. So I don't think I'd fare well in the Ukrainian army or any army.
Yeah.
For that matter. Maybe the Barmy army.
Your Shane Warne love is just bubbling there right below the surface, isn't it?
Sean Warne.
Valet.
That's the word I was thinking of before. I hate it when people say valet as well, don't you think?
Is it?
It's just like pretentious.
Yeah.
Valet. Hey.
Michael Smith.
That's pretty good. It's pretty good.
Annoyed, displeased, riled up, offended, aggrieved, irritated.
That's good, man. That's good.
Michael Smith.
No, it's not. It's like Michael Smith. You have to go like Morrissey at the end. You'll get it.
I'll get it.
Surprisingly fun war chat there, I think.
Yeah. Nice job, everyone. If you've enjoyed this sort of thing, that doesn't feel tasteful. Let me try this again. In these trying times, sometimes you're looking for a little bit of comfort, a little bit to lighten those dark days, those dark nights of the soul. And what better comfort than the Deep Fort podcast experience, found at our Facebook page, on our Twitter, at deepfort.podbean.com for the full archive. You can listen to jingles and songs at SoundCloud and on Spotify. You can send us questions to deepfort@gmail.com. And you can just generally do what you can to make the world a better place. Stay involved, pay attention. You got some fun seggies to see us out? You got any stories or anything?
Mate, I have not a thing. I'll check my notes before. And this is what I had written in there.
Birds.
I have two things written in my notes for Deep Fort. None of them make sense to me.
Cool.
One is, there's nothing hotter than a niece.
Okay.
I have no idea what that means.
Yeah, you don't have any nieces.
I don't have any nieces. I think this was maybe an inebriated thought.
I suspect so.
It was that of all if you had to, all of the family member labels,
Uh-huh.
You know, the niece is probably the hottest. I think that's where I was going with that.
What about stepsister?
I don't know. I don't think I'd be attracted to a stepsister. Maybe a cousin, but not a stepsister.
That's definitely backwards.
Well, I got pretty attractive cousins, I think, though. The other one was, or maybe I shouldn't read that one.
Okay.
No.
Let's go back to an old faithful, I think. I think we just need to we've been delving into war, and I think it's time to lift things up a little bit with a guy who's experienced his fair share of it over the years. And I'm just curious to know how he's doing. So I think we should check in with some George Clooney news.
Oh.
George Clooney. George Clooney news. Watch out for that tree.
That was lackluster.
That was, well, I think that was a one-way.
Do you want to try maybe a bossa nova? I'll give us a beat and we can try singing it to like a bossa nova.
Okay, are you going to basically hum The Girl from Ipanema underneath?
I'll do the drum track.
George Clooney, George Clooney, George Clooney, George Clooney.
No,
in the jungle, he's a bungle news.
I like how you rhymed jungle with bungle very much.
Uh-huh.
How about this? I'll just give you the bossa nova beat and you do the George Clooney jingle, but you can do it however you want.
I just did that. I just did it myself. Why do you want me to repeat it now?
No, because you didn't keep any of the melody. You just adopted another melody.
Okay, so you want me to do the melody of George Clooney news previously against a rhythm of bossa nova?
Yes, a bossa nova. Yeah.
Okay, this is like one of those Spicks and Specks games, and I don't think I'm going to be very good at it.
It's also going to be very difficult because of the lag, and
we're
going to sing out of time. Let's just try it. Okay, ready?
Okay, this is now the third jingle intro to this. George Clooney, George Clooney, George Clooney news. Watch out for that tree.
Oh, that was good. Should that be the new thing?
Probably not. Probably not for the 15 minutes it takes me to edit that to make it actually sound like it was vaguely listenable.
Okay, but include some trumpets and stuff as well.
Okay, yeah, sure. Yeah, great, yeah. I'll put those trumpets in for you. You don't even fucking listen to this podcast anymore. Why do I do these things for you?
For the fans.
For the fans, okay. Right. Well, Michael, you do the honors. As I explain how this segment works, we check in with George Clooney just by Googling the name George Clooney and clicking on the first news article that comes up. So, Michael, let's keep up to date with our famous friend George Clooney.
Also, sometimes there's arranged George.
There is
Clooney
pre-arranged J. Clue, but
J. Clue.
But this week we're just doing it off the cuff.
J. Clue. Okay. All right. First one that comes up from glamour.com.
Okay.
Amal, and it's not anal Clooney. Okay, it's Amal Clooney.
No one thought it.
I thought it, obviously. Amal Clooney just made a rare statement about George Clooney and their twins.
Okay, a rare statement. Let me guess.
This is more about Amal.
Okay, then I'm gonna call a veto on it. If it's about Amal, that's not the name of this segment. That's not what any of the three jingles are about.
It looks like Cloontang has stayed pretty much out of the news.
What's he been doing?
Oh, how about this? All right, I got it. George Clooney from The Independent. George Clooney says he fucked up Batman so bad. Oh yeah, maybe you could tell us about the new Batman movie.
Batman.
All right.
How did he fuck up Batman so bad?
So George Clooney has said how he hates his performance in Batman and Robin. By the way, my favorite Batman. So thanks, George.
Okay. Wow.
During a Q&A session, he
just to be clear, you're talking about him as the best Batman, or you're talking about that's your favorite Batman movie?
I think that's probably it's that. That's when I liked Batman. Like when it was like not when everyone wasn't taking it so serious, and it was like people just knew that Batman and superhero movies were like kind of just like a bit of silly fun.
Yeah.
Because I feel like now everyone's like, no, it's like it's Batman, but it's like really serious.
Batman does have an identity problem at the moment where it's like trying to be like so emo, serious, like gritty, real, important. This is drama, kind of.
This is drama. You know, the first Batman with Adam West, it was like, pow.
Yeah.
You know, it's like no one took this shit seriously. It was like it's what it is.
That was
it's like
70 years ago, but yes.
movies for children that you know we're pretending are for grown-ups.
They're
but
not
now,
trying to be
like,
fun anymore, is the thing.
Yes, but like there was what was the one with Danny DeVito as the Penguin? Because I like that one too.
Batman Returns.
Tim Burton?
I can't remember.
Yeah, Batman Returns. I like that one. But yeah, so what do you think of the new Robert?
Well, just
Pattinson?
tell me first. What's this article say? How did he screw it up?
All right. So he says, I did one superhero movie and I fucked it up so bad they won't let me near the set. The actor and director then added with a smile, maybe I should try doing a George Clooney impression because I feel like I've got it.
Okay.
George Clooney then added with a smile, I don't want to get into all the bat nipples.
That's not bad.
Is that good?
That's well.
I feel like you'd almost get the
bad.
voice.
I think
Really,
that if you had your homework and spent a week on it for a week, I reckon you could get pretty damn close to a Clooney. I think your mouth shape is the right shape.
All right. There are certain films I just go, I want my wife to have some respect for me.
It's not bad.
Yes, dude.
It's not bad.
Anyway, he says I wasn't good in it. This is not much
nipples.
of...
Yeah,
the nipples. Well, anyway, that was George Clooney.
Yes.
I
went
talk about Batman. Tell us.
Okay, spoilers. I'm just going to talk vaguely about spoilers. So if you don't want to know any cast members or roles or things like that, then maybe just pause till you've seen the movie.
Because I looked it up. It's certified
It's fresh. Yeah, a lot of people have liked it. I didn't love it. It is so long. It is legitimately 3 hours long. It's too long. It's so slow. And I mean, I can't really go into it too much without spoiling things, but there's just a whole bunch of character stuff in there which felt a little bit unnecessary. Like you could have trimmed 40 minutes out of it and had this really tight, interesting, because they treat this movie like Zodiac. It's a legitimate detective movie where they're trying to catch a crazed Riddler, committing awful crimes things. There's clues, there's ciphers, there's so much fucking rain. It's like a very noir detective movie. And I totally love that it went there because that's a cool way to do a Batman. Like Batman, sure. The world's greatest detective, quote unquote, has never been shown that way on screen, really, as like a brain and as a puzzle solver and as like a stalking guy on the streets trying to get answers. So that was really cool. And I think Robert Pattinson did a nice job in it. But then there's just so much other added stuff like fluffing around the edges that just bogs it so down that it kind of just lost a little bit of steam. But Paul Dano is in it and he's fucking incredible.
Well, that's the thing. I want to, I'm obviously not going to sit through a 3-hour Batman movie, but Paul Dano, I'm imagining he's going Daniel Day-Lewis on this or something.
He's real good.
Is he?
Is he
real creepy?
He's creepy as fuck. It's sort of, was he in Prisoners? Did I imagine that?
Yes.
He's in that vein where he's like this creepy kind of mute, oddball. It
seems perfect for
It's
him.
real good. He's very good at it.
He didn't go the Jim Carrey route then?
No. Yeah. But yeah, so that was really good. But then there's, I don't know. There's some strange problems where they don't really do an origin story for it, which is fine. Like everyone knows how Batman became Batman at this point. But it also doesn't give you a motivation for why this character is out there doing it and like what he's been struggling with. It doesn't really give him an arc. I don't know. It's kind of, I just felt like it was a bit lacking in a few ways, but it's beautiful. It's really pretty. It's got some fun moments, but it's just too long.
Yeah, 3 hours is too long, I think, for that type of movie.
Colin Farrell, like, it's got a great cast. John Turturro, Andy Serkis, Zoe Kravitz.
I saw Arpats talking about it on Kimmel the other day, and he said that when he initially started to do the voice, he was asked how he developed the voice, and he was like, initially I wanted to do like something because everyone goes like the gruff, gravelly thing,
Yeah.
you know. And he was like, I just can't imagine doing that fucking voice again. Like everyone's done it. So he was like, I want to do something radically different and do like not high pitch, but like just not that gravelly voice.
Yeah.
And he said they shot it for about 2 weeks, and then it just wasn't working. It was just so off.
Yeah.
And then he said a couple of months after that, someone told him that when Christian Bale started doing Batman, that's exactly what he did as well. He was like, I'm not doing that fucking voice again.
Yeah.
And tried something new, and then it didn't work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's something about that character. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it looks stylistic.
Yeah. Yeah, it's got a vibe, which is cool. But yeah, I don't know.
Well, just on that, I saw on Vibe and on Noir, I saw Nightmare Alley, which is it's a Guillermo del Toro movie.
Oh, right.
With Bradley Cooper, and actually saw it in black and white. So they've released 2 versions of the movie, and we ended up seeing it in black and white. And this is a really phenomenal. Like, speaking of style, like this is really something. This movie, like, I'm not sure if I wouldn't watch it again readily.
Yeah.
But if you are in the mood for a noir, and in the mood for a bit of black and white and a bit of rain,
Yeah.
and just like a very stylized movie, I would recommend going to see Nightmare Alley, because it is like a movie. It's like a throwback movie from like, but like, you know, it done for the modern era. It's a very good movie.
He's
so
an
I
excellent
would
director.
recommend that. He's like on another planet, that guy, I think. He did Shape of Water and Pan's Labyrinth and stuff, so he knows what he's doing. But yeah, the Oscars, are you gonna watch the Oscars this year?
I'd never really watched the Oscars, so probably
Are you
not.
never an Oscars guy?
Yeah.
It just feels like they're just becoming less and less relevant very quickly.
Well, it's also just been a weird era for movies because people haven't been in the cinemas, so I don't think there's that kind of cultural enthusiasm when half the stuff's just instantly straight to streaming.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I hope it doesn't stay that way.
I don't think it will, but yeah.
Well,
Well,
that's Ukraine and Batman.
well,
the Ukraine Batman podcast.
yeah. That's the famous sign off. Well,
What's Batman's catchphrase? Does he have a catchphrase?
I'm gonna kill you fuckers.
Bazinga. Is that him?
That's him.
I'm gonna bazing your ass. Is that him?
Yabba dabba doo, motherfuckers.
It would be fun if Batman just had like some like dumb catchphrases like that, like kind of like, you know how like James Bond is like, like James Bond had like, well, especially in the Sean Connery days,
Shaken,
like,
not stirred and stuff, right?
well, not shake. Oh, I got a fun fact about James Bond. Have you ended the podcast already?
I don't know. I was looking forward to this like Batman riff sort of being the ending, but now we've gone off on a tangent again.
I know, because I've got ADD, mate.
That's all good.
So don't fucking
I
shame me for that.
There's something wrong with you and you should get it fixed.
Too hard. I keep trying to get my ADD fixed, but I'm just distracted all the time. I honestly forgot what we were talking about. What were we talking about?